What's going on, everyone? My name is Ryan, and my cousin William and I just finished the Civo hackathon, and so I'm making this video to explain sort of what we build and why we built it and how it works. And so I guess I'll start off with explaining sort of the motivation for it. So there was this conference I went to a week ago called RubyConf out in Denver. Really great conference, my second tech conference ever, and yeah, it was really cool. I learned a lot about a lot of different topics. One topic that is already pretty near to my heart is the idea of using flame graphs, particularly to solve performance problems. And so Jay Dickinson gave a really good talk on that, and so it was kind of through this talk that we sort of realized that there's not often a lot of mix between the Kubernetes world and the Ruby world, and so we thought it would be cool to basically do a project that somehow combines the two. And so we came up with this Civo by Pyroscope continuous profiling project, and basically what it does is we used GitHub Actions pretty extensively to make it so that every time you create a commit in a PR, what this does is it will basically update your Civo Kubernetes cluster with the newest version of your code changes. But then also what we added was the ability to then monitor the performance of those changes as well using Pyroscope. And so basically, you just start off with a Kubernetes cluster, and you have to add the kube config to your GitHub secrets. We did the same thing with Docker, adding those credentials to GitHub secrets. And then basically what it does here is that all these actions, to sort of summarize them, is they check out the most recent commit, build a Docker image, and then tag that Docker image with the most recent commit. And then basically it just runs kubectl apply on all the different manifests. For this particular project, we're using Postgres. We're using a manifest for our application itself. We're using traffic for ingresses, and then using Pyroscope for the profiling part. And then basically once it does all of that and it gets to the end, it creates this message that lets you view the staging app on Civo. So for example, this one, you can see it here, and then also creates a Pyroscope instance that basically updates with your most recent commit. And so here, what we're looking at, what we did just to show off an example of where this might be useful is, let's say you add some code that's slower, that's going to add some performance degradation. In this case, we did it, we fabricated it. So basically, we just encode and decode a YAML, or converting a message to YAML, then unconverting it a bunch of times every time the index action gets called. And basically, what you can then do is you can go in here and you can actually select your controller. In this case, we know it's the animals controller that we made these changes to. And in this case, it's looking at the last hour. And so now we're comparing basically this before period where these yellow bars correspond to CPU utilization, where that was low. And then we're comparing it with the after period where the CPU utilization is much higher because it's doing all of that converting and deconverting. And what we should see here, if we scroll down, is basically this is similar to like a Git diff. And what we can see if we focus in here is the animals controller is in dark red because now the animals controller is consuming significantly more resources than it was before. Specifically because of this translate YAML function that we added. And so you can imagine a lot of situations where, especially with bigger code bases, you might be sort of Frankensteining some code together and cause some performance issue. And basically, you'll be able to see that here in this diff. You can dig in specifically to specific actions as well. And this basically just gives you a different view that you can see and understand your application better. And in terms of basically, next steps, how we're kind of thinking about it, you could imagine the same way you look at a diff here with, red and green changes. We'd love to kind of make it so that it also posts a diff of the changes that are most important here. And to make it easier to run, we're looking at how to add. Civo has a marketplace as well where you can add these different kinds of plugins, and so we're looking at how we can do that. And so that's the project. And thanks for Civo for basically making this significantly easier to run and get up and running with the Kubernetes cluster pretty quickly. So let us know if you have any thoughts on our project or anything that we add. We'll probably leave it up for a little bit. But yeah, thanks.